Nnamdi Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu, odogwu ndị Mozi na-agbala ọkụ. Obinigwe na-ekwu okwu ogwelibe gbalụ Jehova ya lee Obinigwe na-ekwu okwu ọ ka na-ekwu okwu Obinigwe na-ekwuzi okwu ike Nnamdi Kanu odogwu bili eze ndị Igbo gburugburu Nnamdi Kanu ọchịagha ụmụ Igbo odogwu Biafra bili odogwu ndị Mozi na-agbala ọkụ n'enu wesikanu n'enu ụwa n'osi na chi ya dị mma mgbe mbụ ka sị na Nwaeze enwelo nwa mana tata na Nwaeze enwegokwa nwa mgbe mbụ ka sị na Igbo enwele eze mana tata na anyị bụ Igbo anyị enweghị ezenu Nnamdi Nnọbụnya bụ eze ndị Igbo eziokwu n'enu ụwa ebuka eziokwu n'enu ụwa siri ikenu eziokwu n'enu ụwa esikanụ ọkwa ịma na onye na-achọ onye aka ya dị ọcha na ọchụbido ihe n'enu ụwa chụbịa n'ụwa ọmanụ o ji ife nwata woni aka ihe nu akalo
Good evening, fellow comrades and lovers of freedom. This is Biafra Radio, and this is Echo of Freedom. Mazi, Lawman, please, may you take the stage, please.
Greetings, great Biafrans, friends of Biafra, and people of goodwill. You are very welcome to Echoes of Freedom on Biafra Radio. On this platform, we explore the issues that shape our lives and our future by connecting the past and, of course, confronting the present. Wherever you are, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. This is Biafra History Month, a sacred season of remembrance, a season of reflection, a season where we revisit not ordinarily the story of a war, but the story of a people who faced annihilation, but refused to disappear. In our previous episode, because this is a series of broadcasts, we reflected last time on courage and sacrifice. We remembered the battlefield. We remembered our mothers who carried children through hunger, through thick and thin. We remembered a handful of heroes, scientists who turned, scarcity into innovation. We also remembered Biafran children whose bone structures and skeletal system were exposed, not in good faith, of course, but through, starvation, food blockade, and of course by Nigerian government and her allies. Watching these children of God, Biafran children I'm talking about, as displayed on the screen, you could see hunger and starvation had engulfed them, and their ribs became symbols of, what I would call a humanitarian catastrophe that did go viral. It shook the conscience of the world. Very well it did. But the question is, even at that, why did the world keep quiet? So for those who do not know, the genocidal war against the people of Biafra in 1967 to 1970 was the first televised genocide in human history. And, for the first time, there were images of starving children with kwashiorkor entering the television sets, the living rooms of those in the Western world via news and TV broadcasts. So I understand many of our people do not know these things, and allow me to say that their ignorance is forgivable, only to an extent, because following the end of the Nigeria-Biafra war, there was a deliberate cutout, a sort of, obliteration and censorship of history as a subject in schools' curricula. All over Nigeria, I must say. Following the end of the war, schools stopped teaching history, in a bid to suppress the travails and of course, extinguish the essence of our people. But the indigenous people of Biafra, POB says no. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu says no, that we must tell our tales. You know what they say about telling your story? That until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. That's correct, I'm sure. So that is why the month of May is Biafra History Month. That is why we have this broadcast, a special season to learn our history. And in that regard, I implore you to invite your friends as usual. Invite your foes, your kith and kins to this program. We are live on Facebook. We are streaming live. It is Biafra Radio on Facebook. And on our app, we are also there, Biafra Radio. Should you listen, wish to go off social media and want to go via applications to listen. So kindly join and share this program wide, because today we are going to highlight a whole lot of things. We are going from the battlefields to the global stage, as the world did watch the travels of the Biafran people, but thankfully humanity responded. So very quickly, I must tell you, I'm not alone in the studio. Mazi Umeh is here as always with me, but in the machine room to make sure we don't get overwhelmed by any potential glitch in the course of this program. And on the other hand, I am joined by a distinguished panel of historians and allow me to say activists. Especially, we have somebody here, an August visitor joining us all the way from Israel. We will connect them and they will introduce themselves. Our special guest all the way from Israel is here, and in a couple of minutes, she will join us live on screen. She is Israeli, but deeply connected to Biafra by marriage. So you see, Israel and Biafra, this is a sort of great nations. It's like bridging two historic nations of resilience. So I will allow my guests to introduce themselves before we proceed. Mazi, go ahead.
Mazi, good evening, Mazi. Mrs. Obichie, can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, she connected through phone. She won't be on screen to avoidance of doubt, but she's with us here. So you moderate her when she requires to talk. I'm gonna make sure I put her there that she's on the phone with us. So it will be on the screen. Everybody will realize that she's in the program, and she's on the screen. She should be on the phone, but she won't appear on the screen like another person on the studio. Mazi, I welcome everybody as you rightly introduced me. And Mazi George, you may remember my name. One of the anchors here in Biafra Radio. And the engineer assistant this evening, as always, be until things get better. I thank all of you for listening. Mazi, take over from here, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for that. We are special breed of people. As Mazi Nnamdi would say, we are unorthodox. So we do things differently. You may not like it, but that is whom we are. I'm going to introduce or invite Mazi Chris. Take the microphone, introduce yourself. After that, Mazi Oluchi will take over and we go on to a special guest. Your mic is muted.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
Go ahead, please.
Good. Good evening, good afternoon from United States of America. And it could be good mornings elsewhere or good evening right now somewhere. Some are already saying good night. Listeners of Biafran Radio, one of our most reputable source of information. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mazi Chris Nwogu, and I am honored. And today I am here as a deputy coordinator of the indigenous people of Biafra in the states of Massachusetts, United States. I will tell you that today I have every reason to lift up the name of Chukwu Okike Abiama high, because it is a privilege, to be in this platform and to connect with all Biafrans globally across the world, particularly in this month that we share our history and share updates and our activities. Today, I want to say thank you as you listen to us. We will do all the needful. We'll be able to upheld and reveal some of the stories, of the incidences that happened in the past that the governments of Nigeria has swept under the carpet. But the good news is that we have not forgotten. And that is what we have come here to do this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mazi Chris Nwaogu. Mazi Oluchi, if you can hear me, go ahead, please. The microphone is open. Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic, please. Your microphone is muted. Okay, while we wait for him, let's go forth to bringing in a special guest. Mrs. Rachel is here. If you can hear me, kindly go ahead and introduce yourself. Mrs. Rachel, please, your microphone.
Mrs. Rachel, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but I don't hear anything else but your voice.
Sorry?
I can only hear your voice. I can't hear nothing else but your voice.
Lawman, can you hear her?
Yes, please.
I can hear her too.
Yeah, everybody can hear you. I don't know because I can hear you. You're connected. So can you go on and introduce yourself? Can you hear them, please? Confirm if you can hear them, no?
I can hear you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Mrs. Rachel Nwosu from Israel. I'm 10 years in this struggle. I started on February 2016. On September 2018, I became an IPOB member. A month later, I met our leader here in Israel when he arrived here. He appointed me as his office manager, and since then, I'm very, very active. I registered IPOB legally and officially at our government justice ministry. I make sure that I'm paying every year the annual fee to make it, to continue making it, keeping it legal and official. And I'm in charge of every activity here, every meeting, every lecture that we are doing, all kinds of activities that we are doing here to promote the Biafra struggle. And unfortunately, what happened to our leader has to be also, heard. And this is what I'm doing by my activity at our parliament now every week.
That's awesome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let's go back to Mazi Oluchi once again. If you can hear me, if you can hear every one of us, kindly take the microphone.
And Mazi Yagazie is here. Actually, I think you won't see names because of there's something I will do to you to see the names. Yagazie just joined us. So, yeah, just take note of that, please.
Thank you for that.
Mazi, I will need you to transfer the messages because I can't hear nobody but you, only your voice.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand because ideally it's supposed to be, as long as I'm hearing you, you're supposed to be hearing them as well. So that's where I have a problem. I don't know why that is. But everybody had what he said, though. Everybody had what he said. So maybe I will only be the one to get you to speak. But everybody's hearing your voice. Either you don't hear them. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I know why
Mazi,
that is. Okay, don't worry. I know why that is. Don't worry. I know what that is. I'm gonna sort you out in a minute. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mazi. That's why we have you at the machine room. Mazi Yagazie, if you can hear me, go ahead, please introduce yourself. Your microphone is muted.
Good evening, dear friends. Yep, Mazi, good evening. Am I coming to
Thank
now?
you. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, good evening, dear friends. Wherever you're resident here on planet Earth, it's good evening from where I am. My name is Mazi Yagazie. By the special grace of Chukukika Biama, I serve the people of Biafra according to the directives of our Mazin and the Kanu. I'll be standing by.
All right, thank you.
Mrs. Rachel,
Yeah.
can you speak now? Lawman, can you speak? Maybe you can hear her. Did you see me add you on the WhatsApp call? Are you added on the WhatsApp call? Can you check, please?
A minute.
I'm talking to you, Maz Lawman.
Yes, I can hear you. I can.
I'm talking about the WhatsApp call. I added her on there because the problem why you can't hear her is because she's on call. That's the reason why. And you have to be in the call, and your call need to be connected to the program. If not, you have to be on the same device. If not, nobody can hear her. Only me can hear her. Okay, that's the problem. If that's the case, that means I can be only one to intermediate with her.
Okay, that's okay. Just do everything you could.
Okay, then. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, and we must
Maybe let me
continue.
know if you hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you, Mazi. Oluchi, go ahead.
Oh, great. Awesome. I was having some glitch on my computer. Thank you, Mazume. Thank you, Mazi Lawman, for the privilege to be here this afternoon. And good afternoon, great Biafrans. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Yeah, I'm particularly excited about this event today because of how your history affects who you are. Because once you are denied your history, you forget direction that you are meant to follow in life. Once you forget your direction, your purpose is lost. And that is one of the things that I have discovered is happening to us as a people, and it's affecting our struggle. My name is Mazi Oluchi Ekpago. I am from IPOB, Maryland. So I'm glad to be in this program today. Thank you for the privilege.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and I'm glad to have you here. This is Echoes of Freedom program. I will come back to all of you from time to time because it's going to be a sort of interactive session. To our listeners joining us for the very first time, this series is not built on propaganda. It's very important to say this. It is built on documented history, memoirs, witness accounts. Very important to say this. And of course, most importantly, humanitarian records, because we are going to talk about humans here, how they were of help to our people, the people of Biafra, throughout 1967 till 1970. So it's very important we highlight this, and together, all of us here, we will explore, the paradox of Nigeria-Biafra war, the glaring, insensitivity of foreign government versus the bold rising of human conscience. So we are not going to dwell plenty on, how most governments kept quiet. We're not going to dwell plenty on the apathy of these governments. I think apathy is the right word, not only insensitivity. It was an apathy which was glaring. Directly or indirectly, we had governments of the world. They all, colluded. Not all, I understand, against the children of light, against the people of Biafra from 1967 to 1970. But we are here for ordinary human beings. We are here for, organizations, churches. We are here for pilots. And of course, our foreign friends and supporters, not excluding countries who looked at the starvation of Biafran children and said, no, they said, no, not on our watch. So we are going to put into cognizance of our people all these things. And to these countries, let's go to Africa. We had the backings of about 4 African countries or thereabout. We had the backings of Cote d'Ivoire. We had the backings of Tanzania, Zambia, and Gabon. And these 4 African nations defied the Organization of African Union, OAU at that time. Now I think it is African Union, AU. They went against all odds to formally recognize Biafra when it was a case of, your friend's enemy is your enemy. But they went against all odds. Some countries in Africa, they provided backings, diplomatic backings, I must say, for operations. So we are going to highlight how Africa played a part in all this. So to one of us here, Mazi, Oluchi, if you can hear me, I would want you to take it up. If you can highlight how many African countries, which African countries officially, came to our rescue, recognized the essence of Biafra during the war, and what roles did they play in supporting the cause? If you can, kindly go ahead so that those who do not know would come in the knowledge of these things. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mazi. I would start by saying that there were many African countries that came for Biafra when Biafra needed them most. And the list will not commence without mentioning Tanzania. Tanzania was the very, very first country to recognize Biafra as a nation. And that was partly due to the principle that the then president was operating on, because he believed the principle of self-determination. He believed in the principle of humanitarian support, and at that, and that is President Nyerere. And then he never hesitated to recognize Biafra. He publicly defended Biafra's position internationally. He helped that country, helped in publicizing and making the international community become aware of the actual genocide that is happening in Biafra land. One of the importance of what Tanzania did is that psychologically and politically, it had great positive importance for Biafra. So he viewed the then president viewed the issue partly through a self-determination principle, like I stated earlier, and that really, really, really was very, very helpful to us. And mentioning other countries like Gabon, we have the Ivory Coast, we have Zambia, we have Portugal. Portugal was among the people that recognized Biafra. Biafra then. And their recognition played major role in what Biafra, in putting Biafra in the spotlight of the international community. And we are very, very grateful for their contributions. And yes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mazi, for that. Of course, it is very important we highlight this. And let's go ahead to beaming our light on Europe. We had, as you have just mentioned, Portugal, and to the French and Portuguese. May I have one of us here, Mazi, Chris, if you can hear me, and if you could, let's go to Europe and highlight what role the French and the Portuguese played to support the Biafra cause during that time.
Yes, thank you, Mazi Lawman. Before I proceed, let me use this opportunity to give both of you a pat on the back. Mazi Lawson and Mazi George Umeh. You guys have been very motivating tools to the struggle. I listened to you guys on perhaps this Biafra Radio that I considered, and mostly every one of us have considered it to be the most reliable source of information, because we all know that Radio Biafra currently has been infiltrated, and the only thing that we have right now is Biafra Radio. And the good news is that today, perhaps, we are exploring, we are reflecting on a very meaningful conversations, particularly at this time of our history, the month that is designated for us to share these important histories. Now, let me go back to the question of some of the few European countries that contributed immensely, even though that the history has been swept under the carpet. The Nigerian government never allow people, our children, but even the present to have any knowledge of what transpired. But the good news is, again, is that the whole world watched what happened, but humanity responded. And one of those is Portugal and French. They got involved, during this crisis. And what they do was known to all Biafrans who have not forgotten, known to the rest of the world. But perhaps why we are doing this is also to educate our children and lovers of freedom, and those who may have not come across this history. So we are unveiling all this so that you can be aware. Also want to recognize the help that these European countries have given to us. We will never forget. The French involvement, was doesn't mean that they officially recognize us as a sovereign state, but though they still helped, and they got involved in so many ways. The French government was actually they were actually motivated by their humanitarian concern and perhaps the geographical interest. So what they did was that they supplied Biafrans, they supplied us with little arms, and we got a bit of relief materials and some kind of diplomatic backing that was also extended to us. The French charities and organizations were also very, very active in delivering aid, to the Biafran civilians, especially children that were suffering from starvations orchestrated by the Nigerian government and its allies. And also, we also recorded the involvement of the Portuguese. Portugal was one of the few countries that openly supported us. The Portuguese government, allowed us, the Biafran representative, to, operate in Lisbon, and that facilitated the shipment of weapons, food, and other supplies, through Portuguese territories such as Sao Tome and the Principe. Portuguese ports, serve as a very crucial, point for transporting relief items and some small military materials into the Biafran land. And I just want to say that both of these countries, France and Portugal, contributed to Biafran's war. Their effort, provided us some help in humanitarian services and logistical support, which today we want to let them know that we have not forgotten. And Biafra will continue to remember their effort in this conflict. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mazi Nwaogu, for that very input. As you did mention, these two countries, in essence, France and Portugal, they play significant roles and, gave their support. Although France, as you just mentioned, their support was not in the open. And the reason is it was so hidden because they had interests, supposedly, I must add, in the vast crude oil reserves in Biafra land. And, at that time, we had British and American nationals dominated the oil fields in the coastal area of Biafra, where they call Niger Delta today. So it was like France was like, hey, I'm here for you, but on one condition. You're not going to announce it. I'm here for the crude oil. I'm going to help you from the inside, So being neutral on the outside, France was, trying to avoid having a diplomatic crisis with the United States or the United Kingdom, who officially supported Nigeria. So it was a game, in warfare, there is always a game of interest. They were also trying to avoid, ruining future ties with a unified Nigeria if perhaps Biafra sovereignty failed. So they were very careful with that. But be that as it may, we are only here to highlight what support they gave us, and we did appreciate, So thank you very much, Mazi, for that exposition. And we'll go forth to bringing in the humanitarian organizations that did support us. When famine and blockade intensified during the war, we had humanitarian organizations. We had churches, became lifelines for millions. Yeah, so we'll go to bringing in or to underlining what help they provided. But before we do that, let's proceed to having a knowledge of how Biafrans dealt with the blockade of its borders, the land, the sea, and the air. Because Mazi Nwogu, you did mention how Gabon, the France used Gabon to send us, food supplies, medicine, and all that. And it was so because a lot of innovation was put in place, because then they had blocked, Nigerian and her allies had blocked the land, sea, and air, and having blocked these borders, because when Nigerian troops captured Enugu as it was the capital of Biafra, we lost Enugu very early. I think about 5 months sequel to the birth of Biafra in October 1967. So we also lost the airport in Enugu. So they thought, oh, it's over for us. But there was a work of art that raised concerns, that raised, eyebrows all over the world. And in this case, it was the masterpiece of the Biafran airlift and the Oli airstrip. And this miracle remained till tomorrow morning one of the most, allow me to say, daring and successful operations in humanitarian history, because they were put together not by governments, but by groups and individuals, So we are going forth to telling our people and our listeners how the Biafran airlift was instrumental, to saving millions of people. Perhaps one of those where, all of us here, we had our grandfather amongst those that were saved, So, Mazi, Yagazie, if you can hear me, I have one question for you, or a couple of questions in this context. What was the Biafran airlift all about, and why was the Oli airstrip so important in the course of Biafra at that time?
Mazi, thank you. Thank you so much for your presentation today, for putting this program together. Our people needs it. The world needs to hear it. Biafrans that fought during the war, they were heroes in all aspects of life, in all ramifications. They were heroes. They were heroes in the battlefield. They were heroes in the scientific world. They were heroes in the technical world. And as a writer put it, he said that in Biafra, Africa died. I think it was Izani that wrote that book, that in Biafra, Africa died. And that's because of the technological advancements recorded just within the 3 years of Biafran existence. And that was in wartime. You imagine if Biafran can achieve what they achieved during wartime, what can they do at peaceful time? Is an eye-opener to the abilities of Black Africans typified by Biafra. Well, to your question, Duli airstrip, first of all, it was codenamed Anebele. Uli itself is located today in the present-day Anambra State. Uli airstrip was the beating heart of Biafra survival, just as you mentioned in your introduction, because Enugu fell and the enemy, the Nigerian government, felt it is over. So the route of survival was this Uli airport. This work of art was not just a traditional airport, rather it was a masterpiece of wartime engineering. And this is why I said earlier, our fathers were heroes in all facets of life. Uli served as the secret hub for massive international humanitarian airlifts of both food and medicine. When Enugu fell in the hands of Nigerian forces and we lost Enugu Airport, Biafran engineers came together in just a couple of days. It didn't even take months. Like normally, if you are to construct airport, it's something that takes time, takes months to build, sometimes years. But in this case, it's just a couple of days it took Biafran engineers. And this is something that happened in wartime environment. Just think about it. wartime. While war is going on, there's bombarding here and there, lives at stake, but our engineers were able to put together an airstrip just in a couple of days. They built what became the second busiest airport in Africa at the time. This was at the peak of the war, just between 1958 and 1969. Uli became the second busiest airport in Africa. This should have been encouraged had it been Nigeria is a country where intellectual advancement matters. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mazi Yagazie, for that very exposition once again. I mean, Uli Airstrip, you have just said it all, constructed within a couple of days. I mean, I have tried to make a research. I have never seen, apart from the Berlin airlift, I think Biafran airlift seconds, the amount of people, you know, that could be airlifted, in quote, so to speak, you know. So Biafran airlift remains a miracle, and that is why we had to put it out for our people, you know, to know all these things. Very, very important. And I did talk about organizations and churches that did help, you know, during that time. And to Mazi, Chris, if you can hear me, kindly highlight what role these organizations played, you know, during the war.
Yes, Mazi, thank you once again for asking me to do this. And here in Biafra Radio, we take time to disseminate informations that are credible. And it's only here in Biafran Radio at this particular time that we are sharing the sufferings our people went through during the Biafran War. Everything we do here, we highlight, is credible, and perhaps we are just trying to let the whole world know that we have not forgotten, even those, perhaps those that has provided us one help or the other, you know, during these devastations. As the anchor has just directed a question to me, yes, there are the humanitarian services where by several organizations where that's what we are trying to also remember, and we acknowledge them and we will never forget, even though that history of what took place has been swept under the carpet by all Nigerian governments. So, but we as Biafrans, we went through this. Some of us are still living today. Many of us have died. But the good news is that those of us that are alive, we continue to echo and re-echo these incidences. And today we choose to remember the organizations that has really helped us. Overall, I would say the humanitarian organizations and particularly churches, we are very, very instrumental in saving countless lives, even though we lost millions of people during these devastations. Perhaps if these organizations, particularly the churches, both local and international, were not to provide or being instrument to this war, perhaps we would have lost, very, large number of people. So these organizations and these churches, help in also alleviating the sufferings. And we also remember all the advocacy for peace and reconciliations, during, this process. We remember. And let me again re-echo our brother who also mentioned the Uli airlift. That's one of the airlift that was provided to help us in this process. We see that the airlift, the air trip in Uli is one of the sources that these organizations, particularly the ICRC, which is the international, community of Red Cross, has used, to, bring us some, goods, that has helped our people from dying from the sickness that we call kwashiorkor, which is out of because of the introduction of starvations, and so this Uli air trip was one of the sources that was used, and it became an iconic, relief source of our mission, of these missions. So we remember and we thank the organizations. And one person notably that we will never forget is Father Kevin Doheny. He is an Irish missionary. This man, coordinated a very, very innovative network, to smuggle food into the blockade areas, often at his own personal great risk. The war that was, would have been led to widespread, displacement of extending the starvation. This man, developed and took some risk in order to make sure that many more people do not suffer from starvations and hunger due to the blockage. We want also to remember the ICRC and the Caritas organizations that has also gave us relief in a very large scale. They made effort in order to make sure that food, medicines are delivered across, even though it's not been enough with all the blockages. We also want to remember the churches, like I said earlier, both churches, both local churches and internationals. These churches, became very vital actors in the relief operation within the Biafran land. So, however, we just want to use this effort to give thanks to them and to tell them that we remember everything they have done to us in terms of helping to alleviate the devastations in our Biafran land. Overall, I think I would say that humanitarian organizations and churches were instrumental in saving countless lives. And that is by way of alleviating our sufferings and advocating for peace and, recognition during and after the Nigerian Civil War. We want to say here that all their actions, we just, what we're doing is we've highlighted them and we still have them in our minds. We also acknowledge the importance of what they have rendered, to humanity, particularly to Biafrans. And we say our principle is that we'll be remembering this from time to time, their role and what they have played in order to reduce the conflict. We say thank you, and we say thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mazi Lawson. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, Mazi Chris. Thank you very much for that. Schooling, I must say, these are not taught, as I did say earlier, they are not taught in schools. So, people should appreciate this series of broadcasts we have, kind of launched here on Biafra Radio. So thank you very much, Mazi. And, on to our special guest. We understand she's talking to us. She's reaching us via the phone. I want to make sure she's still here with us. And we will embark on a short break. When we come back, we will go to her proper and listen to what she has for us. Mrs. Rachel, I understand you're still on the phone. Can you hear us? Okay. So I understand you're via the phone. You're speaking to us via the phone. One more time. Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. Your voice is coming out clear, loud and clear.
Thank you.
So right now we are going to embark on a commercial break. When we come back, we are going straight to Israel to bring in our August visitor. And meanwhile, I must let you know this is Biafra Radio. And of course, on this program, Echoes of Freedom, we are bringing to you everything about Biafra History Month to ensure that what concerns us as a people is not, plunged into oblivion. Very important we do this. So stay tuned, invite your friends and your foes, I must add. We will come back to you in a short while. So stay tuned, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Take my boots off when I die, oh Biafra. Take my clothing to the camp. Any lawyer give my gun to someone else to fight for fatherland. Biafra, take my boots off when I die. Ojukubeze na la Biafra. Edere ya na buri. Awolo wo wane ya Yakubu go one. Ewe ikimeri Biafra. Biafra win the war. Amodu Kasheli machine heavy artillery bomb and fighter.
Yes, welcome back, Mazi Lawman, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And welcome back, great Biafrans and lovers of freedom. In case you're just joining us, this is Echoes of Freedom on Biafra Radio. And here we explore the issues that shape our lives and our future you know. So right now, we are going to bring in our special guest, you know. So we are going to bring in our special guest right from to speak to, you know, she is going to lay hands on what happened during that time and what role Israel as a nation played. As I said before, there is a sort of resonance, you know, between Israel and Biafra, these two nations having passed through persecution, having passed through, you know, a sort of the same scale of crisis. Remember the Holocaust, you know. So we are going to bring in Mrs. Rachel. Kindly take the floor, Mrs. Rachel.
Hello?
Go
Hello?
ahead, please.
I didn't hear nothing. Did you ask me any question? If not, I will just say what I have to say without asking me any question, because I know that you people are teaching now actually the history, and you wanted to know the part that Israel took during this time of the war.
The question,
And some of the volunteers. Okay.
As someone from Israel, you know, a nation whose history carries a sort of memory, suffering and survival, as I did put forward initially, you know, Biafra and Israel, they are historic nations that have a sort of resonance, you know. So what would you have to tell us, and what do you think the humanitarian tragedy in Biafra pushed Israelis to act at that time?
Okay. Remember that Israel at that time was a very young country. Most of our citizens were survivors of the Holocaust. So, and during 1967, we had our own war, 60 days war. And when we received all the information, and especially later on, when all the pictures of the children of the dead people came, it was a terrible, really terrible situation in Israel, because it reminds the population. Most of them came from Europe, from, you know, survived the Holocaust. So it reminds them exactly what they passed in Germany. And then the pressure was, you know, it came through the people. Before it came to the, you know, from the side of the parliament. The pressure came from the people. The people couldn't stand seeing all these, you know, pictures and some films that were. I remember myself as a young child. I was 8 years old when I saw the children on TV, and everybody was asking questions, because something like this was impossible, you know, to adjust. So the pressure started on our government, and then during July 22nd and July 23rd, 1968, there were 2 days of discussions about Biafra. On the 24th day, the parliament decided to call the international community and all other parliaments all over the world to act immediately and help Biafra with anything that they can do, of course, especially food and medication for the children. The discussion was, you know, had lots of voices. Most of the voices that carried the request to even disconnect every international relationship with Nigeria came from what we know today as Likud. As today, it is the political party of Benjamin Netanyahu. So they decided they wanted even to disconnect any international, any relationship, any diplomatic relationship but then the statement of the government was that Israel don't want to harm its diplomatic relationship, not only with Nigeria, but with other African countries. So what they decided is, was to help Biafra, of course, by food and medication and doctors, but also they sent military equipment. They took the military equipment that they got during 6 Day Wars. We had war with all Arab militaries. So Arab militaries use Soviet Union, Russia equipment. So when we took it and we changed it we sent it to one of the private factories in Europe to remove the name of Russia. I don't know exactly what they wrote on because each military equipment must have name of the country that produced it. So they had to remove it and send it somehow to Biafra. Plus, back then, 1968, we gave Biafrans $200,000 to go and buy by themselves military equipment. Abba Eban was the Minister of Foreign Affairs back then. He called, of course, he called all the nations in the world to act during their government, through their government and also through international organization, especially UNICEF of UN. They sent a crew of, as I said, a crew of doctors and nurses, and one of them I even have an honor that I met because he's supporting Biafra. He's an Israeli who was a soldier. He was, I think, 20 or 21 years old when he was sent together with 2 other soldiers to Biafra to work and cooperate with the Red Cross and save life. When he returned back from the war, from Biafra, he even received a token of appreciation from our Minister of Foreign Affairs. And only a few years ago, he decided to write his memories, and he was very happy to know that there are Biafrans even in Israel. I was there as a guest of honor when his book was out, and he had a kind of a lecture to promote his book. And he came twice to our 30th May. He will come even this year too. He will even come to one of my parliament visits days. And another thing is something that made me very sad, because it is true, but even though it was long time ago, you can't forget something like this. Abba Eban said that this siege was the biggest disaster that any country, especially Biafra, any nation, especially Biafra, could feel or could have. It was even worse than the war itself. Why? Because the victims of this siege were citizens, and most of them were children that lived in this world for a very short while, and very tragic short while, that was almost all of it tortured. And one of the people who were very famous here in Israel, and he volunteered to help Biafran children, to help Biafrans at all, was Ebi Natan. I don't know if you people heard of him. Ebi Natan was born on 29th of April 1927, sorry. He was born in Iran. He grew up there. Then his family moved to India. In India, he joined as a volunteer to the British military, and he had some courses and become a pilot, and served Britain as a pilot. So when he arrived to Israel and he lived in Israel, he decided to spend his life in doing good to others. So when he heard about what is happening in Biafra, he decided to lead some humanitarian travels, to Biafra to save life, especially of children. So he started by taking his own airplane. He had a private airplane. He took it with food, with medication, with doctors. As a child, I remember even on TV, I saw him even giving sweet, to sweet the test, in the mouths of the children, in the mouth of the children. It was, this is a scene that I remember as a child. He was there with them, and when he arrived to Israel, he organized almost every day protests near the parliament, and he established a special organization for the children of Biafra. Of course, it was a voluntary organization, and in this organization, they contributed money. He helped getting money from many countries, many organizations. So with this money, he could continue buy more food, more medication, and bring more doctors to help these children and dying people as much as he could. Then when he finally returned to Israel, he continued after that to do whatever he can, of course, to Biafra, but it was, for himself, it was like a turning point in his life. He bought a ship. He called it a Voice of Peace, ship of Voice of Peace. And this ship was acting like a radio station in the Mediterranean. And it worked until, I think, January 1993. And this man was even twice in jail, because once he went and met the president of Egypt. And that time, remember, Israel and Egypt were enemies. We didn't have any diplomatic relationship with them. So when he returned, he was tried for meeting an enemy, and he was sent to jail. After that, he later on, many years later on, he went and he traveled, and he met also Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat was the biggest terrorist, and later on he became the leader of Palestine. So he met him before the government of Israel even dreamed of having any peace talk with them. When he returned back, he was sent again to jail. He was a man of peace. Abi Natan was a man of peace, and this is the only thing that he saw when he organized the protest for Biafra. He said he was even interviewed on TV, and he was crying. He said that every day in Biafra, thousands of children and people and other people are dying in hunger, and people, many countries don't care at all, and he is trying to get all this contribution money and everything, food from Israeli citizens, to buy food, to buy medication. He organized everything with the 2 or 3 parliament members, and also with our Magen David Adom, which is the Israeli Red Cross. So yes, the country was very young, and it was very much affected by the events of the Holocaust. Not as now that 2 generations after, and I have to teach them. And this is what I'm doing when I'm traveling to the parliament, to our Knesset. There are some members, the elder, some of the elders, they know. When you tell them Biafra, they will start telling you the story, but most of them, they don't know. I have to show them, I'm calling it photo album of terrible pictures, and the story of our leader, and I'm really educating them and teaching them. And I have more than 30 parliament members that are supporting us. And some of us will come also. Some of them will come also, and they will honor us on our 30th May ceremony. So this time it is different than it was in the past, because in the past it came through the people from down on ground to the government. Now there are no much people that know the story, and I have to teach the story to get the support. So this is the difference between then and now.
Right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Rachel, for that input. Highlighting, I understand you did talk about Abi Nathan. Nathan was someone, an individual whose magnanimous efforts was very huge during the war. So we remember these people. And thank you very much for beaming light on what Israel did for Biafra as a nation, during that time, and even now.
I want to add one more thing.
So we are not going to.
I want to add one more thing. When Israel sent the military equipment, you were talking about some African countries that supported the Biafra, of course, Gabon, Tanzania, Zambia, Ivory Coast. Some of the countries, they didn't want any Israeli airplane to pass through their sky. So Israel had to take the military equipment to Ivory Coast, to move it to airplanes of Ivory Coast, and then from Ivory Coast, it was sent to Biafra. I don't know what was the reason of these other countries not to let the equipment to pass when it was really necessary. But Ivory Coast helped a lot, and through Ivory Coast we succeeded to move and to send the military equipment. The problem of Israel was that even though they helped Biafra, they were still in diplomatic relation with the zoo. The reason was that they didn't want any influence of pro-Soviets inside the zoo government back then, and also you don't have to forget that the zoo government is Muslim, so all the Muslim countries were supporting them. So Israel was, try to do something against this influence of the Arab world and the pro-Soviets support.
Of course.
So,
Of course.
Yeah.
Very well understandable. And as we did put forward, there were countries, who were here and there at the same time. And it's quite understandable because, there is a saying that quotes, all is fair in war. So, and war is a game of interest. You could see what has been happening between Russia and Ukraine. And, we're not going to go into all that. But more importantly, we are here to recognize the efforts, the roles, and the support, these people, individuals gave us during that time. Now we are going to bring in one person in whose name, we know, Frederick Forsyth. We had Frederick Forsyth, a British journalist.
Yeah.
He came into Biafra as a young man, Frederick Forsyth reported extensively from Biafra land. He was sent on a mission. You know how they send journalists to go and, cover events or happenings, or to go there as a correspondent. So Forsyth acted as an eyewitness and also a reporter, during the war.
Yes.
But you know what happened? He resigned from the BBC to report independently, about the crisis happening because of a sort of disagreement regarding the coverage of the war. And what really happened was that Britain mounted pressure on the BBC. BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation, is one of the largest media or arm in the media of Britain, you know.
Yeah.
So Britain mounted pressure on the BBC regarding the clear, accurate report that it was displaying on televisions. And of course, it was courtesy of Frederick Forsyth. So
Yes.
the BBC had to recall Forsyth, accusing him of being, on the Biafra side.
Yes, I remember.
So it was a sort of, look, we sent you on this mission and we've asked you to come back. And he was in fact called a pro-rebel, but Frederick Forsyth said, no, rather than mutilating my reports, the naked truth of the Biafran people, or recalling me to London, I rather stay in Biafra and report the truth.
Yes.
That was how Frederick Forsyth resigned in early 1968. And he stayed in Biafra until the end of the war.
Yeah, it is actually.
It was only when the war ended,
what is going on.
He returned to the UK and started a family. I think he married in 1973. So Forsyth came as a young man, a very young man at 29-year-old young man.
Mm-hmm.
He dedicated his youth, his prime to Biafra. He died just last year, I think, at the age of 86. And he wrote a book in 1969. So I fully recommend that book, and I urge every one of us to lay hands on that book and get acquainted.
Yeah, I have
The Making of an African Legend, the Biafra story. So these are the category of people we will never forget. Now, let's go back to one of us here, Mazi Chris. If you can hear me, I would want you to highlight, what really made people from Eastern countries care so deeply about Biafra at that time. Was it that they saw a potential, or what?
Yeah, Mazi Chris, can you hear me? Your mic is muted, perhaps. Mazi Chris Nwogu, your microphone is muted. Hello, Mazi Chris, can you hear me? Your microphone is muted. Okay, Mazi Oluchi, if you can hear me from your end, if you could kindly shed light on key support, from these friends of Biafra at that time. And there were a couple of, scenarios or events that most shook the world. Aside it put forward, the world knew about it, but there were key events or scenarios, that were outstanding, such as the American dude of Columbia University. I think we just displayed that right now. Mazi Oluchi, if you can hear me, if you have anything to say regarding that, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Mazi Lawman. And thank you for all those who have spoken, who have shed light on all the people that came to the aid of Biafra during the war. And one of the things you will observe is the...
No.
Am I coming out?
I can't hear nothing, only your voice.
Am I coming out?
Okay, Mazi Oluchi, go ahead. Mazi Oluchi, go ahead, please.
Okay. So one of the things that has been repeatedly said amongst my comrades who spoke is the humanitarian crisis that that went through Biafra land. It was unimaginable. the famine, the children's starvation, the humanitarian suffering, and the world was doing nothing. Just like our sister Rachel said, that a lot of countries, they didn't want to do anything, including the United Nations, because we have diplomatic ties with this Nigeria, we don't want to interfere. And Mazi Lawman said that war, they say, is a game, it's a game of interest, And there's this young man. Among him were other people who really worked hard in terms of helping with the humanitarian crisis, like Bernard Kouchner, the medical doctor who offered to sacrifice his time and all his resources to support the Biafran children who were suffering from all manner of sicknesses and diseases. But one of the most symbolic international individuals associated with Biafra was a young boy called Bruce Mayrock. In 1969, after this young man has written letters, he has, to campaign to government officials, he has done everything in protest, and nobody seemed to listen. Nobody seemed to care. This young man decided to do, he was a 20-year-old man, like Mazi Lawman said. He was a student of Columbia University in America. And this young man decided to do the unimaginable just for the sake of Biafra. Because when the report of all the pictures, all that were happening was televised, this young boy could not hold but protest in a very violent way in order to bring attention of the world to what is going on in Biafra land. What he did in that May 1969, Bruce Mayrock carried out a self-immolation. He set himself ablaze in front of United Nations office in New York. He set himself ablaze. Now, you begin to wonder, is he a Nigerian? Does he have any affiliation to Biafran? So it was the same spirit of humanitarianism that led him to say, there is no way these Biafrans will suffer like this. Instead, I want to draw the attention of the whole world to understand so that they can stop this thing that is happening. Unfortunately, he set himself ablaze and died 2 days later. And even before his death, even before he died, he wrote and was carrying a sign that demanded an end to the genocide that was happening. That was to show you how serious he was about ending the genocide that was happening. That guy was not a Nigerian. He had no ethnic connection to Biafra. You will say, oh, because he's a Biafran. But he had passion for Biafra, and he saw the injustice that was meted against Biafran. Sister Richard said that majorly children were starved, and countries were concerned about their diplomatic relationship that they did not want to help. This young boy has written letters, gone everywhere he could, just for this to be stopped. United Nations, they couldn't do anything. The world, they couldn't do anything. He set himself ablaze. So his story demonstrated the power of media coverage during the war. You know, the images of the starving children, they had deeply influenced, public emotion nationwide, worldwide, everywhere. everywhere. People were talking about those stabbing images, which was horrific to behold. It was really, really horrific to behold. And with his action, the Biafran War transformed the global humanitarian awareness and the way responses are made humanitarianly when there is war. So we are not forgetting his effort. He's a young man who took interest in the story of Biafra and decided to do what no man has done in defense of the people of Biafra. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Mazi, for that very exposition. You mentioned one other person before Bruce Merrock. Who was that?
It was Bernard Kouchner. He was a medical doctor who presented himself to help Biafrans, and who later was known for. Give me a second, I will remember that. He was, there's this slogan that was associated to him because of his sacrifice, because of his dedicatedness to the saving of Biafran children as a medical doctor. So he was Bernard Kouchner is his name.
Right. Thank you very much, Mazi. It's very important. And we remember these people. We must always do till Biafra is restored. As I said in one of our episodes, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has said already that when the time comes, we will erect cenotaphs proper and ensure the names of these important people, individuals, and organizations will be engraved on the sands of time. So we are inching closer to ending this program. But before that, I want to get to the tale by inviting one of us, Mazi Yagazie. If you can hear me finally, let us touch on our foreign fighters. Some people did impute their talents, most of whom we are pilots. So let's see if we can utilize a couple of minutes we have here to mentioning and eulogizing these people in the name of Rolf Steiner and Gustav Rosen. These were foreigners who had little or nothing, related with Africa, but because of humanity, they dedicated their time, their life to make sure that the Biafran people were not obliterated fully from the surface of the earth. Mazi, guys, if you can hear me, kindly go ahead. Your microphone is muted. Go ahead now.
Thank you. Please, can you come again with the question?
Okay, I was trying to shed light on our foreign friends who did dedicate their time, their talent, most of whom we are pilots, in the name of love, and one other Swedish pilot, Carl Gustav. If you have any knowledge of what, input or what effort they dedicated and they gave us during that time.
All right, thank you. These people suffered a great deal for us. Suffered a great deal because flying into Biafra then was a very affair for aircraft to move you without proper lighting. This is to avoid the detection. Usually today, the wrong way of the earth.
Your voice seems very faint. Could you clear the airways? external device or microphone, you may do away with it and speak directly to your device's mic, you know.
At this point, I guess maybe it's a network interruption.
I think we barely hear him.
Oh God. Am I coming out better now?
Okay, go ahead. Let's see how it goes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, I was trying to say that these pilots suffered a great deal for our sake during those times because at then, the wartime period, it was a very dangerous operation flying into Biafra land. For oftentimes, the aircraft often flew without proper lighting. And this was to avoid detection because during the day, the runway of the airstrip, which is our only operating airstrip then after the fall of the Enugu airstrip, it was camouflaged with palm fronds and other vegetations to avoid destruction by the Nigerian Air Forces because the Nigerian Air Forces were flying, seeking where our source of breath is to destroy. So the airstrip was made visible during the daytime. But in the night, flights landed only at night. Flights is these pilots flew in only during the night. So that made it greatly very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And they flew in without proper lighting in total darkness just to avoid radar, to avoid detection. Now these pilots are only requested runway nights. And these are just palm oil bottles and lanterns at the very last moment of landing. It was indeed a dangerous operation. And
Mazi, sorry to interject. Your voice is very, very bad. The network, I don't know. You cannot hear anything and it's just wobbling.
Yeah, Mazi Yagazie, you need to summarize, or if you have an external, maybe the air conditioner blowing air directly at your device or a fan, I don't know. Sounds somehow.
Okay.
Okay, we must proceed, you know, and as I said before, we are inching closer to the end of this program. You know, we cannot say enough what our foreign friends and supporters and even countries did for us, you know, during that time, the travails of the Biafran people, men, women, and children. One day, 24 hours wouldn't be enough, you know, to bring to limelight these things we are talking about. Even 1 month wouldn't be enough. That's why we had to make it a series of program that began on the 5th of May and is going to run until 30th of May. So we are going to come back next time. So from every one of us here to our listeners, I'm going to allow them to give us their final thoughts. And after that, we conclude tonight's program, you know. So Mrs. Rachel, if you can hear me, you have any final thought? Within 1 minute or two, kindly give us a final thought. Your mic is muted.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Go ahead, please.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
want to say that what happened to Biafra when Ojukwu declared separation from Nigeria was actually it wasn't a rebel. It was actually an act of self-determination from, of the Igbo nation. Back then and even now, Nigeria has problem, ethnic, very, very difficult ethnic problem in Nigerian society. And all this happens only because the decision of Britain to turn hundreds of tribes that had no contact or connection between them and made them one country with the leadership of Muslims. This is a game, a very tough game of imperial interests, colonialism, neo-colonialism, with people that only wanted to separate and go back to their roots and get their lands into their hands. And I will end with what Abba Evan, who was our foreign affairs minister during the war, what he said. With this, I will end. He said that every Biafran child with the swollen belly, I'm very emotional, sorry, and with the legs and with the very slim legs and hands, with the big open eyes asking for compassion, turn to a symbol of a big shame of a whole generation. And this is something that we must learn. We can't ignore something like this. We can't ignore evil. When we see evil, we must do something. We must do anything in our power, even if it is little. We can't just look, and forget, because this is something that you can't forget. I saw these things since I was, child, and I couldn't forget it. And God brought me, to a situation that somehow I married a Biafran man. I was in Biafra. I felt home in Biafra as if it is my second home. I always miss it, even though so many years passed. And I'm trying to teach everybody, my children, my grandchildren, my people, that every person that I know, people at work, because if we will not teach, nobody will know. You know how many people are asking me, what is Biafra? Nobody knows what is Biafra. And it was supposed to be, to be known all over the world. I don't know why we had problem with doing this kind of promotion all over the world, to find local media, to find local politicians, to make sure that the story will go to people, will go, even if in the neighborhood, everybody is living somewhere, the children are living in school. You can go and you can take your children and once a week or something, tell the story of your people, tell the story of your land, of your country, because this is what is connecting you.
Right.
This is what connects you to all this, and you can't just sit aside and forget. Yes, it happened, and we will continue our life. No, you can't continue your life, because it will haunt you until you die. If you will not, look how many of Biafrans are abroad. How many of them are old? What will happen to them when they will die? Then they will remember Biafra, when they will bring their body back to Biafra. But what did they do all these years for Biafra? And this is another painful point to me. But okay, this is what I have to say. We must continue. We must continue. Tell the story, not only on May month or because of 30th May, but every day. And this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm begging everybody to do the same.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And as I did say initially, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify always the hunter, and we must tell our tales. Thank you very much, Mrs. Rachel, all the way from Israel. You could see she was emotional, and I believe that was the kind of emotions you know, emanating from ordinary human beings when the world watched,
Listen,
you know, and then
lobby.
humanity responded. Thank you very much once again. And Mazi, Oluchi, if you can hear me, may we have your final thought?
Thank you.
Thank you. That was indeed emotional. It was really emotional. And Biafran, I want to thank you for the opportunity to share with you what we had this evening. And I don't want you to forget that history, reflection, and the future of our people, they are embedded in all this that we've come to highlight today. I am going to quote Mazi Lawman that when the lion has not learned to ride or has failed to ride, everyone will justify the hunter. I'm sure you know what that is. This series of events, programs that have been put up, they are not just to remember our fallen heroes, the starvation that happened. This is a call for great awakening of our people. Because if you do not know your history, you will lose your identity. So it is important that everyone, every Biafran, find what his history is or was, to be able to know his identity and purpose. That is what, like Madam Rachel said, she's surprised why this is not being talked about all over the world. Nobody seemed to know Biafra. And that is what they have planned to do, so that Biafra will be buried and buried for good. As a people, we have risen and we are not going back. We will continue to educate our generation and generations to come on the issue of Biafra until Biafra is restored. The humanitarian crisis during the Biafran War remains one of the most painful chapters in modern African history. Beyond politics and military strategy were millions of ordinary civilians, children, women. I remember my mother telling me the story of how my elder brother almost died because there was nothing to hold the food that enters his body. Nothing. As soon as you put the food in his mouth, it's dropping down through his anus. They were caught in tragedy, marked by hunger and displacement, disease, suffering, on all manner of things. Name them. Name them. And we are calling on the international community. Please do not place human lives above, do not place politics above human lives. Please do not. Humanity prevails over violence and division. History survives when people choose to remember, and that is what we Biafrans have chosen to do. And remembrance carries responsibility. Let us all be prepared to face the responsibility that comes with remembering where we are coming from, to be able to determine where we are going. I thank you all for listening. Have a wonderful evening.
All right, thank you very much, Mazi Chris. Do you have something to tell us before we wind down?
Okay, Mazi, am I coming out clear?
Go ahead, please. The world is listening.
Yeah, thank you very much. And while I come to this point, as we come close to the end of this meeting tonight, I just want to, emphasize once more in a very brief summary. I still want to, extend our, gratitude to the countries that have expressed their humanitarian concern, during in 1967 to 70 when the whole world watched. So many of you, some of these countries that we have enshrined tonight, express and show the humanity aspect because of the devastations. So many of this country couldn't sit down and watch and see lives being, wasted. So we want to thank you for the humanitarian concerns. We want to also thank those that have also came to our rescue to show some kind of religious solidarities, particularly even those that have their interest might be perhaps because of our geographical location and resources, and yet they play some small role. We still have every reason to say thank you and to let you know that we have not forgotten. We remember all that these countries, have done into our lives. We say thank you very much from this Biafran Radio. Finally, I want to greet all our cherished listeners, tonight on Biafran Radio, especially our host. Both of our hosts have done some credible work, put this together tonight. And I also want to thank my co-panelists that are here. We have worked as a team, and we have been able to, educate and give history to our children mostly who are watching us tonight on the echoes of the Biafran War today. And I want to say that as we reflect this, our history, I think this will do us well and our children to really, have some little bit of education to see that the reason why we are towards achieving, we're in this goal of our self-determination. And I want to use this time also to urge all IPOB members in United States to stand, firm in supporting the struggle and the Biafran freedom. I believe that all our voices, if we put them together in our advocacy and in solidarity to what our aims are, we'll be able to achieve, our aim. So I just want to say thank you and
thank you,
Mazi.
Thank you very much.
Mazi. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mazi Yagazie. I understand you're here. Kindly give us your final thought.
Okay. Once again, good evening, everyone. And this time around, I feel my voice is better.
Very well, it is.
To God be the glory. I want to use this opportunity to remember to thank all the pilots, their effort during trying to convey food, trying to convey medicine, trying to assist the dying Biafran children and women during the war. It is by their selfless efforts, their sacrifices, that we have a new generation today, the present day generation. Because if the children, all of them died, if there was no rescue brought about by the efforts of these pilots, and perhaps our generation wouldn't be there, because it was those children that continued this current day generation of Biafrans. So I want to say, most of them may not be alive today, but I want to say that their efforts will never be forgotten. Their sacrifices will forever be fresh in the heart of Biafrans till the world comes an end. And to our host tonight, I salute you. It's a great job you're doing, trying to bring focus, because the Nigerian state, the war didn't end in the 70s. they continued the war in different ways. Even when they said no victor, no vanquish, the 3 R's, reconstruction, rehabilitation, and what's more. And the war didn't end then, they continued. They continued in different ways. Even calculate Biafrans economically, giving everybody 20 pounds, regardless of the amount you had in the bank. Then they continue the genocidal war at different times in history. Since that 70, over time, they orchestrate genocide, which is still ongoing today as it is. They kept on doing it, and in all spheres, they've excluded, in fact, they want to a total occlusion of the Biafran space, economically and otherwise. They are doing this. So what they're doing also, as part of it, is to ensure that the history of Biafra is never taught in schools, is never heard anywhere. This way, they can totally eclipse Biafra and, as a matter of fact, bury it totally. So those of you that came up with this idea, this month of Biafra, this Biafra month, the month of May. Coincidentally, this is my month of birth. Actually, I was born on the 27th of May, just 3 days before the declaration of Biafra. So you
Yeah.
guys bringing this up is a great one. It's a great job you're doing. So I want to thank you for this effort. And you guys have been doing this, not just this one. You've been on the media trying to educate our people. I want to salute you. And my co-panelists today, everyone that have spoken, I want to thank you. My network was a bit problematic, so I couldn't function as expected. But the rest of you that spoke, you held sway. To God be the glory. I want to salute you all. To every Biafran listening, or even friends of Biafran, foreigners, and everyone, I want to thank you. I want to salute you. And to Biafrans, I have to say, we have to keep the ball rolling, because if we fail to free Biafra from the grip of the Nigerian state, it means all the efforts, all the sufferings of our people in the past are wasted. The likes of a Bruce Merrock, imagine what it is to set yourself on fire. The effort of Bruce Merrock, the pilots, the humanitarians, people that try to get to us, the Israelis and everybody, it would have been a waste if we were unable to achieve the goal. I say we must continue. You look at it, our leader Mazi Kanu is still being held in captivity up to today for the sake of Biafra. As I said, the Nigerian states have continued the war non-stop, but it behoves on us to try to get ourselves free from their grip. And
Of
finally,
course.
I have to thank Most High Chukwu, the Almighty
Thank
God,
you.
for
Yeah.
being on our side. There one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mazi Yagazie. As we conclude tonight's program, or afternoon or morning, depending on your time zone, we have highlighted and shed light on a lot of things on how the world watched, but humanity responded. Remember, as I said earlier, 24 hours is not going to be enough for us to do these things. So we would come back next week to continue, and do not forget this, as one of us just put forward, because humanity responded and countless lives were saved. It is one of the reasons we are here today, because hadn't they been alive, we wouldn't have been here. So we must thank those people, organizations that helped. May posterity be kind to them, and history will never forget them forever and ever. So to our listeners and viewers all over the world, you've been on Echoes of Freedom on Biafra Radio. And right now, it is time to pull the plug on today's program. And from all of us in the studio, from our guests across the world, I want to say thank you for staying with us. Until next time, let your voice echo where the truth is being told. Let your voice echo and let memory and, of course, humanity matter to you most. Thank you very much from me and from all of us here. Ndewa.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so
Thank you.
Bye.